Our room right now smells like it's on fire. I don't like how it started saying Hailey.
In the forest you'll find a fabulous banquet, a fairy ball. If you close your eyes and you open your mind, the veil disappears and you'll see it all.
Hi my angels, it's Hailey Reese, and wow, it has been a crazy past couple of days filtering through all of the audio from my spirit box and all of the audio from my EVP sessions and just everything that occurred in that haunted motel. I'm sure that you guys were expecting more to come out of my spirit box and more EVP sessions in part 3, but actually when I said to be continued, it was going to be in story time form because there are a lot of things that occurred in that day that I didn't get to talk about in that video because I was so focused on the communication that I had made and the contact that I had made and everything else that was going on that I didn't get to explain to you guys why this is all the more terrifying. In the first part of this series, you heard at the end me saying to my mom that I really think this is something evil. And that was one of the many audios between me and my mom caught on my EVP watch that was recording the entire time. I went through that, I contemplated inserting it into here, but honestly at this point I think you can tell by part 1 and 2 that we were scared, that we had a lot of thoughts running through our heads. So for today's video, I'm going to explain, number 1, what a paranormal researcher told me she thought of this entire experience, which is so terrifying, you guys. Number 2, what occurred leading up to going into this haunted motel, and number 3, overall the experience and what I think it was that we contacted. So if you guys haven't watched part 1 and 2 of this 3-part series, I will have a link, or the links, sorry, at the very top of my description. You guys can head on over there and watch those because this will not make complete sense, or you won't understand it completely if you don't know what happened prior to this, but basically, you guys know we stayed in this haunted motel. Now, what you don't know is that I was down in New Jersey actually working on some music. And while I was down there, I thought, you know what, there are so many haunted locations in New Jersey. Why don't my mom and I, 1, go stay in a haunted motel, but 2, explore some different haunted locations. So the main goal for me the day leading up to the night that was gonna come where all this happened, the plan was for me to visit a bunch of different paranormal locations. So the very first one that I visited was Devil's Tower, and there's a video coming on that very, very soon. I just wanted to conclude this series before I got into that one. So we went to Devil's Tower, we had a great experience, we got some great footage, everything went smoothly. And then the next place that we were going to go to was actually called the Gates of Hell. Now, if you do some research into it, I actually plan on, especially after this experience, making an entire most haunted video on it talking about this particular location. But essentially, people believe that the devil has a lair in there and that there's actually a portal / vortex straight to hell from these particular underground tunnels. So I had planned on going to visit this place because there's so many theories and stories and frightening experiences surrounding this location, and people actually say that the devil himself and a bunch of evil entities like reside within this lair. Now, I was not planning on conducting an EVP, and I was definitely not going to bring my spirit box in there 1 billion trillion %. In fact, I wasn't even planning on going into the lair. I just planned on getting a little bit of footage so that when I came home and I did a sit down video, I would be able to share that with you guys. So we punched in the address straight from where we just come from, which was Devil's Tower, to go to the Gates of Hell. And my mom punched it in and we're driving there, and it took us a long time to get there because the 2 locations were fairly far from each other and there was traffic. On the way there, I started having this weird feeling in my stomach regarding going there, and so did my mom. But we didn't talk about it until we were about, I would say, 15 minutes away or so. And my mom turns to me and goes, "Hailey, are you sure that you want to go there? Like, you're so pure. Like, I just don't want you to be around anything that's close to the devil." And I was like, yeah, don't worry, I'm not even gonna bring my spirit box in. We're just gonna go get some quick footage and head out. And Mom's like, okay, here's where it gets creepy, you guys, and here's where it leads into part 3. All of a sudden, we wind up at our motel that we were going to be staying at that night, that we were planning on going to. Like, it was so bizarre and so scary and so strange to us, because when we exited, when we pressed end on the Google Maps, it still said that that was the address that we were heading to, was the gates of hell, but we actually went to our motel that we were actually going to check into after we went to the gates of hell. So we all looked at it as a sign, like, oh my goodness, we're not supposed to go to the gates of hell, but how on earth did we get here? And it literally was the hotel that we were going to be staying at. Like, I can say under oath, like under everything, like I have vlog footage of me saying, guys, we just wound up at our motel, like so strange, like ha ha ha. Looking back now, and when I communicated with a paranormal researcher, it gets a lot freakier than just showing up at your hotel door. So when we went into conducting this spirit box session, I actually prayed off camera, which is interesting considering what I believe that we contacted. But I said a prayer to protect me within a white light, and to protect my mom within a white light, and just, you know, really protect the space. But that I would like to make contact with the spirits that may or may not be trapped here. I truly was not expecting, on only my second time utilizing this spirit box, to have made such great contact. And what I believe to have contacted initially were the spirits of those who had been caught in the fire and who were trapped there. And I believe that we were making a real, genuine contact. I believe that it was very pure and it was very heartbreaking. And I felt, while I was in that moment, a great deal of sympathy and fear and sadness and just an overwhelming sense of something being trapped. And initially, that was all that I thought we were connecting with. I really believed that we were connecting with these spirits that wanted my help, that wanted help in crossing over, that were trapped, that were stuck, that were suffering, and they now had somebody to communicate with. What I believe now, and what I believed by the end of that night, was that there was something else there. Something that was very, I can only describe as evil. Personally, and whether that had been a demon, whether that had been a dark entity, whether that had been an angry spirit, whatever it was, it came with a real sense of heaviness. It came with a sense of just wrong, like just something that you don't want to be around. And this thing, time and time again, was calling out my name, and it said, join us. Like, in that moment, in those moments, I just felt a great deal of, this is not right. But then in between, there were spirits that were perking up and that were chiming in that I really felt just wanted help. And that's where I got very, very confused. And that's where the paranormal researcher wound up clearing all of this up for me. But I need to tell you guys now what ended up happening following that last footage that you had just seen. So shortly after I finished that final EVP and that final spirit box session, and I told you guys that we would see what was going to happen next, I turned off my camera and it actually appeared to have died. So I went to go and plug it in, but it wasn't charging. It was like my electronics were failing in a way, although my phone wasn't. And I didn't think much of it, to be honest with you guys. Like, we were really freaked out at this point. I wasn't scared, but I was very overwhelmed with how great of a response we got on only my second time ever utilizing the spirit box. And my first time really sitting down and setting the spirit box down and letting the spirits come to communicate. So my mom had finished eating her cake and she decided she was gonna try to get some sleep. And I actually called my boyfriend and I told him, like, you won't believe it. It was saying my name. It was telling me to join it. It was calling to me. And I just felt this sense of pressure, which I will say, he said he was interested to hear the spirit box session. And when he heard it on the computer, he was like, wow, that is your name. And he's not somebody who easily feeds into, that's paranormal, that's ghost, that's this, that's that. But while I was on the phone with him, FaceTiming him, my ghost equipment went off again. And it was that same obnoxious beep that we had heard within his home. What was scary about it this time was that I felt this sense of like evil in the room when that had happened, and I stood up very quickly, and he's like, babe, I'm telling you, it's your ghost equipment. That's what happened in my house. But when I went over this time, instead of it staying on like it did in his house, it flicked off, like right when I went over to touch it. And all I could really think that was that this thing, this dark thing that I felt when that spirit box went off on its own again, had turned it off, saying, you need to turn it on, it's time to come back to communicate. And I said right then and there, you know what, the Reese's Pieces will understand, like I can't keep communicating with this. It's repeating my name, it's telling me to join it, it's saying that it sees me, like, and this was in such a short span of time, in like a half an hour, like all of this occurred. Like, if I keep messing with this, what's to say that it doesn't follow me home? What's to say that it doesn't form an attachment? What's to say that it doesn't harm me? So I made the decision to leave that off. And I woke up at 3:30 in the morning to a dark shadow standing over my mom's side of the bed. And I didn't feel afraid in the sense that I wasn't like panicking, but I felt like throwing up. Like, it was a really, really horrible feeling. And I flicked on the light and the thing was gone, and that was the moment where I literally said the biggest prayer. And while I was praying, I could smell the smoke, and then I could slowly feel the smoke kind of fading, but I knew that like me alone wasn't enough to rid whatever was there, if that makes sense. The next day, we woke up and the room actually didn't feel so heavy. My camera didn't appear to be charging, like there wasn't a light. If you guys have the Canon G7X, when it's plugged in, there's either like an orange light or a green light telling you that it's dead or it's charged. And neither one of those lights were on, so the camera wasn't charging properly. Mind you, I had a phone charger in the same like outlet rectangle, and my phone had charged. So that was really strange to me. However, when we left and we were heading towards the airport and I put my battery in, my camera was working fine, it was charged fine, everything was all a-okay. What was that? I hope you guys heard that. So weird. Speaking of that, so now we're going to get into probably, and actually for sure, the most terrifying of this entire experience. And that was when I decided to reach out to a paranormal researcher and send the audios of my spirit box and EVP session to her to catch her thoughts on it and see, you know, if this was something that could have been manipulated within the spirit box, or what this was and what her vibe was. And I should know that she's very, very connected to the paranormal and psychic in a sense. So I reached out to her and I sent the EVPs, I sent the spirit box session, and the email that I received back is something that I will take with me to learn from, but that I will also remember forever. To wrap it all up, because it was a very long email, she believes that there were spirits that are trapped there, that died tragically, that genuinely were looking for my help. But in me reaching out to and looking to communicate with them, a dark spirit, an evil spirit, a demonic spirit, so to speak, manipulated, took advantage of, and controlled that spirit box session to where they were only heard little bits and pieces coming through. I'm getting emotional when I talk about this, and I'm getting like, I don't know, it makes me nauseous. To basically where they were communicating bits and pieces through, but he was trying to manipulate me into speaking with and getting closer to him. And she said this had to do with, because I have such a white light, because I have such a positive energy and a positive outlook on the spiritual realms and the spirits, he knew that he couldn't make direct contact with me because I would shut it down. I would sense it, I would know, and one, he wouldn't want to vibe with that. But in me continuing to talk, thinking that I'm talking to these few spirits that are coming through and communicating with me out of true connection and wanting real help, he was able to get me to talk to him much longer and communicate much longer than I otherwise would have. There's literally a clip in, I believe, part 2 at 7 minutes and 14 seconds that I'm going to insert here, where it doesn't just say Hailey. It says Hailey Reese. This thing knew who I was beyond Hailey, which, you guys, it's making my eyes water because, okay, a lot of you were asking me, Hailey, how could the spirit know your name? Now, my mom does call me Hailey. I'm her daughter. My name's Hailey. She calls me Hailey. So that never truly freaked me out. When I looked back and found this clip where it says Hailey Reese, that's how I know this thing knew me. This thing knew what I did, knew who I was. Because my mom doesn't go around saying, Hailey Reese, Hailey Reese. That's weird. Like, my mom does not call me that. I'm not a 7-year-old that goes, Hailey Reese, get over here. Like, I'm 22 years old. My mom calls me Hailey or Hales or, you know, something else, but she never calls me Hailey Reese. And the fact that this thing knew Hailey Reese, it just doesn't seem like a coincidence. The fact that I was heading to Hell's Gates and wound up at the motel I was going to stay at where this thing was that knew that I was Hailey Reese, it's just all very, very freaky. And it has taught me a very valuable lesson to maybe take extra measures to protecting myself. I know that there are some people who utilize spirit boxes and they keep crystals around and they keep crosses on them and they just really make sure. And it was a lesson for me to further protect myself in these investigations. It's a lesson for me to recognize that yes, there's good, there's bad, which I know, but that sometimes the bad will manipulate your good side. But with that being said, it was very exciting for me to know that my spirit box works, that I can make great connections, that this is going to be an incredible paranormal investigation series going further on my channel. But you may see some extra crystals and forms of protection in the background when I do conduct these spirit box sessions, because that was a terrifying experience, and I truly believe that I had contacted some real spirits, some real trapped souls. But with that being said, I did make contact with something very dark as well. Don't worry, you guys, I am totally okay. My life has resumed. I am positive, I am full of light and love. I am excited for the future of these spirit box sessions and where we're going to head next. But just remember, you have to take the dark side very, very seriously, because it's scary when you make contact with something that is dark and not of light. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this 3-part series. I loved more than anything creating it for you. This was the scariest video and scariest experience I have had on my channel to date. This was the first video from any paranormal investigation I've ever done where, while editing, I had to take a breather. This was real, this was raw, there was nothing fabricated, changed, or dramatized in this series, and I can promise you guys that every single audio clip you heard was coming from a different realm. Isn't that wild to think? Like, wow. If you guys are new to my channel, or you are just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my videos, I would love it if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button. I post a ton of videos. I am starting an incredible, exciting paranormal investigation series here on my channel, so I really don't want you to miss that if you do enjoy my content. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you did like it, because it makes my heart super, super happy to know that you guys enjoy the content that I'm creating. Remember, my loves, to do all things with kindness and throw light and love in there as well. And until next time, I love you.